Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah, we talked about that. I love that movie, though. I love that and Krampus. I'm sorry.
I like the look of his movie. His movies look nice. And I love the design of Sam in Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
I mean, I like the design. I can appreciate that the design of the character is the thing that is almost outlived the movie in a lot of ways. Especially in a mainstream capacity, because you can go to Spirit and see a little Sam blow up that you can put in your front yard and stuff. That, in my opinion, has kind of it's more than just the movie now, which is a good thing. And that makes it, if you can have a creature from your V or a monster be licensed, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
And Krampus is probably the best Christmas monster movie. Not that there's a lot of competition.
Of the Krampus movies, it's definitely the best.
Yeah, right. All those Krampus movies.
Yeah. I think I watched one other one. And it was.
Oh, that's right. I guess there are a couple.
There's a bunch. There were 5 on Hulu at one time.
Yeah, but those came out post Krampus.
Oh yeah. Right. Oh yeah. They're all asylum type things.
Yeah. Krampus is the original Krampus. There's only one Krampus, and it's Krampus, at least the original. But on this episode of the Kulturecast, we're not here to talk about Krampus, but we are here to talk about horror movies. Because on this episode of the Kulturecast, I am joined by my good friend, the host of the Wake Up Heavy podcast, Mr. Mark Bailey.
Hello.
What is your pleasure, sir?
Not Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth. I can assure you of that.
Oh my God! Oh, okay. So we're going to disagree for the first time, I think, on this episode. So Mark, we are talking Giallo. We had been kind of doing our thing this year where we talk about 3 things at once. So on this episode of the Kulturecast, we're talking about Hellraiser 1, 2, and 3, Hellraiser 2, and then Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth.
I have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Hellraiser. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare. No! Unlike anything you have witnessed, is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. Hellraiser, a film by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
So
couldn't have picked a more apt title.
the original Hellraiser is directed, written, and based on a story by Clive Barker, which I think gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. That Clive Barker directed the first one. I mean, yeah, everybody remembers he wrote the story, The Hellbound Heart, but the movie is also directed.
Yep.
And the film stars Ashley Lawrence as Kirsty Cotton, a woman who finds out that, lament configurations are better left untouched.
As one does.
As one does. And Andrew Robinson is here, not playing the knockoff Zodiac Killer. Who was apparently, a side tangent, Mark, apparently the Zodiac Killer has been found, and that's something that you and I both
and I haven't
immensely about, and apparently he was identified, so it's solved.
And I haven't heard a lick of anything since that day.
It wasn't solved. What a surprise. How many times have we heard this now as, like, people who follow the Zodiac case, like, oh, they figured it out, who it is. Buy this book and you'll see who it was. Like, nah, I know this ploy. I've seen this ploy one too many times.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be great. I hope that I'm alive when that happens, but I haven't seen anything. No, it's funny that you mentioned that because I think when I first saw this, I don't know if I made the connection between Dad in this and him being Gemini in Dirty Harry. I think I probably thought he looked familiar, and I watched Dirty Harry a bunch as a kid because it was constantly on TV. But he's quite a bit older, obviously, and quite a different character. But I think it took me a while before I realized, oh, that's the same dude. And I love that guy. He's not in a whole heck of a lot of movies, but whenever I see him in something, I love him.
No, he's Andrew Robinson is again, I know him from only a handful of things, this being the thing that I think about him the most other than Dirty Harry. But so Ashley Lawrence plays Kirsty, who goes to live with her father, who has a new wife, and this new wife fucked her dad's brother, so her uncle, and then her uncle went and got himself killed by the Lament Configuration in the family house, and Kirsty's dad and stepmom move into that house and unintentionally and then intentionally raise Frank from the dead and incur the wrath of the Cenobites. The Cenobites being our good friend, the character who this series is known for, not called Pinhead in this movie, the lead Cenobite. Nope. The lead Cenobite, now known as Pinhead, played by Doug Bradley.
Yep, this is all true.
I'll tell you, Mark, you could do the Pinhead thing.
Yeah, probably.
You've got the look, and you could probably do the voice, give it that little, you called way answer.
Yeah, I'd have to practice that, I think.
I love Doug Bradley's performance. It is the best part about any of these. He's just so good, right?
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
And I don't know how far I've gotten into this series. I mentioned this when we talked about doing these, and I said that I had watched quite a few of them, and I'm still thinking I did, but when I started to watch part 3 of this yesterday, I was like, I have no recollection of this. Because I remember watching the documentary, Leviathan, and
great documentary.
yeah, really long about it's only about the first 2 movies.
What, 6 hours?
It's 8 hours.
It's 8. That's right. It's 2 4-hour documentaries.
It's longer than the Friday the 13th documentary that is about 13 movies or whatever.
Which is longer than the Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, right, which is about 8 movies or 9 movies, and it's like 5 hours. Yeah, the Friday the 13th one's like 6 hours. The Nightmare one is 5 hours, and then this one is 8. That's right.
Yeah, and I thought that shortly after I watched that, I went and watched up to like the 5th or 6th movie, and maybe I was
scripts, it's not Hellraiser movies, and are just other.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. That's always a favorite thing of mine now these days. Once I realized that was a thing in Hollywood, because when I was a kid growing up, I didn't really think about them doing that kind of cynical bullshit, but it's so rampant. Yeah. But yeah, and it goes along with that whole, we've got to hold on to this license. So we need to do something by this date, or we lose.
And hey, this license is good enough that we can just slap it on anything.
Right.
That's the hyper cynicism. It's like, it's garbage, but it had Pinhead in it, so that redeems it not up to the point, like up to the line, but like, for some people probably just short of the line. Like, oh, it does have Pinhead in it, so it's not that bad. Like, it's like reverse Split, right? Like in Split, that movie is good and it's amplified by how great it is because it's connected to Unbreakable. Those Hellraiser movies is like, they're bad and they're amplified even worse because they have the fucking character that's in these movies that's so cool. Just completely wasted.
Yeah. Well, it makes me wonder what's going on. Well, it doesn't make me wonder. It puts an image in my head of these producers sitting around. Okay, we need to churn out another Hellraiser. Dig into that pile of scripts that we paid very little money for and retcon something into being the next Hellraiser movie. And then, like you say, slap it together and we've held on to the license for another however many years they get. And I think that's why there are so many of those. Is it Witchboard or Witchcraft? There's like 14. There's some like shitty series of movies. It's either Witchcraft or Witchboard, and there's like 15 of them by now or something. And it's like, how could that possibly be a money-making franchise? But they keep churning them out because they've got the license, and you got to do something by a certain amount of time or you lose the license. And
what's interesting is, if I think about Hellraiser as a franchise, it has the problem that like none of the other franchises do. Friday the 13th doesn't have shoehorned script. Nightmare doesn't have shoehorned script. Halloween is it kind of its own weird case, but Texas Chainsaw doesn't have shoehorned. Like, none of the other franchises have shoehorned scripts, but this franchise, at least on the level of visibility for who the character is, because there's like a Last Supper fucking killer's row of killers from these movies: Jason, Freddy, Michael, Leatherface, and then Chucky or Pinhead. And like, none of the other characters but this one have this problem of like just movies that are not their movies just being like, yeah, he's just kind of the moral. He's the moral judge of the movie. Is the way he's treated is kind of what it feels like, at least in the first two.
Yeah.
Assume in some of those other movies where he just shows up, it's probably as a complete Deus Ex Machina plot device.
I don't know. I think some of the Nightmare or Fridays might have been, some of the later ones might have been pre-existing scripts.
No,
I'd have to look.
If you watched...
oh, that's true. I have watched those documentaries.
That's why I'm using the documentaries as the frame of reference. Because in the documentaries, every time they talk about the creation of those scripts, they're writing it for Freddy. I mean, even the scripts that never got made were all Freddy-centric. I mean, I'm trying to think of the Splatterpunk one. I think that was the one where they went with the baby instead. It was going to be like the guy gets his body possessed by Freddy that's in a coma or something. Like, that's, unlike Pinhead, I think one of these Pinhead movies is like, isn't like an online game or something? It's like, that's the one that... I think the thing is, Pinhead was being made in the 90s.
Right.
In the 80s. And the commoditization of slashers in horror movies was in full effect.
And I think it's more for Nightmare and Friday. It's more of a case of writing toward the character now, and that's when you get the messy timelines and the messy, stuff that doesn't make sense. Like just even in the first
is more important than the.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how these all end up, and that's when things get pretty uninteresting for me because, as I've probably mentioned on an episode of your show or my show, I'm not the guy that goes to see these for the killer. It's not like Freddy isn't the draw for me. Pinhead isn't the draw for me. Jason isn't the draw for me. Although I was really upset with Friday the 13th Part 5 that they had a fake Jason in there. But anyway, I just thought it was a cheap switcheroo.
Isn't there a fake one and a real one in the same movie? Or is it? No, I guess it is just a fake one. It's the guy. It's the
ambulance driver that you could never. I mean,
right?
It's kind of obvious.
He falls out of the thing, and then the mask comes off. Right?
It's pretty bad. I mean, I remember going like, "What the hell?" But yeah, so I'm not that guy. I'm not that. Ooh, Freddy. I mean, Wisecrack and Freddy is just anathema to me. So,
the humor takes the place of good, right?
Which is, I believe. Yeah, which I believe is what happens to Pinhead as you get deeper into this as well. I don't know, because apparently I didn't go as deep as I thought I did with these, and I don't have much interest in finding out which ones I did actually watch.
Bugs crashing your PAX party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
So
they cover a lot lot of ground in these first 3 movies.
Enough ground for me.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, you know, before we dig into the movies as a whole, you see why I would say the first 3 are probably the best ones to watch, because the first 3 are kind of one long story, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Well, definitely the first 2.
Yeah. Well, the first 2 for sure, yeah, because they have the same character. But I say the first 3 because the first 3 are talking about essentially the same character beats. And the third one exists because of the end of the second one, with Pinhead being unleashed upon the world. You know, his psyche gets split, and his whatever horrifying killer version gets stuck in that pillar. And that's, you know, Pinhead unleashed in the third movie. I think it's kind of fun. But the first 2 for sure. But yeah, the thing, like with Freddy, because he can talk, him and Pinhead share a lot more DNA than a lot of the other ones too. Because, you know, ultimately Leatherface and Michael and Jason have to get their ideas and points across in a way that doesn't necessitate script writing.
Right.
It's not dialogue writing. And without dialogue, we're talking different characters. Because, yeah, you can't have, you know, great graphics. You know, Jason can't do. Because Jason doesn't ever talk. So that you can't have any of these pithy, on-point pop culture references.
Which I think I prefer.
Well, I mean, again, if done correctly, I don't see an issue with it. But it does immediately date the movie. You know,
there's
Freddy's like, now you're playing with power. Like, oh my fucking God, the power glove? Like, Jesus Christ.
And I wouldn't have gotten that back then, and it would just go over my head completely today. Yeah. But I do think that might play a role in why I prefer the Friday the 13th and Halloween series over these 2, over Freddy and Nightmare and Hellraiser. Could be part of the reason.
What about where do you come down on Child's Play, on Chucky?
If to take those 3, Child's Play, Nightmare, and Hellraiser, Chucky would probably be pretty close to the top. I've enjoyed more of those deeper into the series movies than I have from those other 2 franchises. Although I can't really say that about Hellraiser because I'm not exactly sure how far I've gotten into that franchise. I've seen most of the Nightmare movies, and I like them less and less as he gets wisecrackier and wisecrackier, and feel like they kind of brought it back in with the new Nightmare movie. But I watched
for the success that movie did have outside of that.
I've missed quite a few of the Chucky movies, but for whatever weird reason, and again, I think I was sick. I was on a trip, tagged along with my wife on one of her business trips, and it was, I believe, the last Chucky movie came out on Netflix, and I watched it out of curiosity, and I was like, oh, that was kind of fun.
And the series picks up for it.
And so I went back and I watched the one before that that also had Brad Dourif's daughter in it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And I think that was the one where Andy returned. I may be getting these confused, people, so don't.
Where he comes back at the end of that one, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's maybe in the new one a little bit too. I can't remember. And people don't yell at me all you want through the ether. I don't care, but I'm going off my very bad memory here. But I watched a couple of the later ones. I haven't watched any of the ones with the Bride of Chucky with Jennifer Tilly as like one of the, not as the main. Right. I know she's
not as her the actor.
Right. Well, yeah. When those Bride of Chucky and whichever one came immediately after that, I haven't seen, but I don't mind his wisecracks because it makes sense for the character, because that's how the guy was before he inhabited the Chucky doll. He was, a wisecracking asshole, killer, murder. That's who he was. So he didn't really evolve into that like Freddy did. I mean, Freddy wisecracked a little bit in the very first movie, but it was a lot more morbid and, not so much like you say, pop culture specific. And
The lines from the first movie that I remember, like, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Right.
That's not funny. That's just like iconic.
Right. And it's menacing, and it I mean, is it even really played for I mean, it's just,
I mean, This Is God, that's another good one.
Right.
Like, this is not funny, like, but it's an iconic line, but it's not funny. It's like darkly funny because he's such a bastard that he thinks like he can play God. And I mean, kind of
right.
That first Nightmare movie is my favorite of all of these, I think. And
it
was like Hellraiser, First Friday, and that first Nightmare movie is just, I watched it over the weekend again, and it's just so, right?
Yeah. Oh, I remember renting it back in probably the year after it came out in the theater. So 85 or something, and being really, really impressed. And, the whole idea of using dream logic that turns into surrealism is the kind of stuff that works for me. So I'm right there with you. I think it's a stronger first movie in a franchise than the Friday the 13th movie, which I really enjoy. But if I were to say which is the better movie, I would say Nightmare. It doesn't necessarily mean I enjoy it more, but I probably do because of that surrealism. And if I put it next to Child's Play or Hellraiser, it would probably still win out. I like Child's Play more, I think, for nostalgia.
Quintessential.
Child's Play and Hellraiser are the ones that I actually saw in the theater, but that
Hellraiser could only have been made in the late 80s too.
Yeah.
so let's talk about the original Hell. So you saw it in the theaters.
Yeah. It came out in 87, I think September of 87. So I was first year freshman in college and had gotten into Clive Barker because of Stephen King touting him as the next best thing in horror.
At the beginning of the trailer for this movie, they said, there is a new face of horror, and it is Clive Barker, Stephen King. Fuck, who? If you get that from Stephen.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Stephen King. That makes your career.
I think I bought at least one, but I might have a couple of the Books of Blood collections and read them and enjoyed them to a certain extent. But unlike Stephen King, I don't think I bought any more, and I don't think I've reread any of those. It was a little too raw for me.
Oh, yeah.
I think mostly the sexual stuff. I was just a little puritanical kid, kind of. So it was, and I think Stephen.
You are today.
I think Stephen King's sex was a lot more along the lines of puritanical.
Yeah, like a child gangbang.
Yeah.
That's much
and
more puritanical.
This was before that, I think. Well, let's see, right around the same time. Yeah, I probably read. I read it when I was a little bit younger, and I don't even think I remember that was in the book until years later. But yeah, I think it was just a little too on that edge of BDSM and things that I wasn't really
pain is pleasure
super into. And I don't know. I know at the time I didn't know that he was gay, and I don't know if there was a lot of homoerotic stuff in the stories, because I think when I discovered that, it was still a surprise to me for some reason. For one thing, in Hellraiser, there's, it's a heterosexual relationship, a man and a woman and a kid. And so I don't know. I never really got that indication. It may just be me being a naive kid, but so I don't think that that's what turned me off. I think it was more just kind of the darker stuff and bondage and things like that weren't really my bag at the time. So I didn't get too deep into Clive Barker's stuff. But because of the Stephen King thing and probably having already read some of the books of blood, I know I was interested in seeing this when it came out, and I saw it in the theater, and it was one of those movies that kind of threw me for a loop because it's weird. And part of it, I think, is him directing it and being a first-time director who knew nothing about directing a movie. So you get some odd touches because of that. And then that weird thing that happens when you don't know where this is supposed to be taking place. So that kind of always gets my head going like, what? This is not America.
It's supposed to be America, though.
Yeah, they take out all the English stuff, and it just kind of muddies everything. And a lot of the actors are dubbed, except for the wife. She retains her British accent. And I mean, Andrew Robinson is either American or Canadian. I'm not sure which. Ashley Lawrence is American. You get everybody else dubbed with American accents. They don't really name where they are. The house doesn't look American to me, which is what I noticed when I first.
It's the house.
And it just is like, where is this? Which is kind of fun because it can be anywhere. I like it when movies do that, or I did. I mean, I still do, but I can usually figure out where it is now. But I wouldn't have had any like, where are these people? So it just becomes its own movie world and movie logic. So that the dubbing and just it being made by someone who didn't really know what they were doing, but ended up doing a pretty darn good job of it, made it interesting to me. And because it leaned into the sex stuff and the ripping apart of bodies and things, it was also kind of like, ooh, it made me uncomfortable as well. So it hit a lot of spots in my brain that work. And I know I rented it a lot when it came out on video finally. So I would have been, 18, 19, 20 or something. I don't know if I saw the second one in the theater or not, but I know I saw it shortly after it came out on video at least. And then that's probably where my Clive Barker adventures ended.
The first movie reminds me of the set.
Mm-hmm.
The setting, like in The Frighteners, you've never seen it.
No, I have.
Not you, but the audience.
Oh.
I know you've seen it. You're nodding your head like you've seen it, but if you've never seen The Frighteners, in the movie, it is meant to be set in California, but it is directed by Peter Jackson, directed in, of all places, New Zealand. And it looks like New Zealand.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, and what's that horror movie? I talked about it last year. Did we talk about it last year? The horror movie that's supposed to be set in like Iowa, but it's in New Zealand. It's like an 80s.
I don't know, but that sounds familiar.
With the mask. What's the mask? It's got this like really weird mask in the movie, and it's the thing with the needle in the eye. Oh God, what's that movie called? It has like dead kids, I think is what it's called.
Oh, I know what you're talking about though.
Dead kids.
It has another title. Strange. Yes. Yeah, both the movies that guy made, and I think there's Strange Invaders and Strange Behavior, and it's the same deal on both. And it's like, what? Yeah, those are
set in Illinois and filmed in New Zealand. Like it's
right.
It gives this movie and those movies, this movie being Hellraiser, it gives it a feel that cannot be replicated.
Yeah, and I like that. That's one of the things that really gets me in movies when something's not right, but you can't put your finger on it. And I've talked about this a bunch on my show and other places. The same thing would happen to me with Canadian films. And it wasn't until I was much older and realized, all those movies that kind of weirded me out when I was a kid were Canadian films. And so they seemed off because, the places didn't look American. The streets don't look right. I mean, I haven't been everywhere in America. And I know that back east, there are cities that kind of look like cities in England and things like that. And people that came over replicated how their cities looked.
Was filmed in Toronto.
Right. Stuff like that. Any Cronenberg.
In Toronto. Any Toronto stuff.
Any Cronenberg movie would have thrown me off, and did as a kid, because I'm like, is this America? I don't know. They're speaking English and they don't have accents. I couldn't really pick out Canadian accents back then. So I love that feeling, though, of not knowing what's wrong, but that unease helps.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters, and Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Me, at least, with an overall feeling for the movie. And this movie Hellraiser definitely did that to me too. And it's one of the later movies I can think of that did that. Because
the house just feels so British.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, everything does.
Yeah, but for some reason, the house feels just like English countryside.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just something about it. And I think the fact that there's almost no shots in this movie outside of the house that don't have rain. Or there's no there are, if not no, very few daytime shots outside of the house. A lot of this movie is filmed inside of the house in low light. In that in kind of the house's own internal logic. Speaking about something that's come up a lot, Malignant. That film has its own house's internal logic. This movie has a similar house's internal logic because there are things in this house that make absolutely no sense. But again, you have to go with it for the sake of the film's narrative, which... Yeah. This movie's all over the place because a lot of things happen in this movie that make no sense, that are given no context. Frank, the main villain of the film, dies at the beginning of the movie, and then comes back because Andrew Robinson cuts his hand by accident. But we're given no context as to how or why that happened.
Right.
He doesn't even explain it.
And that's fine. That's the kind of thing that I could see bothering me, but when you start over explaining things, it's worse, in my opinion. Hey, blood revives this guy. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he got ripped apart by a puzzle box, so whatever. Why have logic?
Yeah, I'm with you.
The thing that confuses me about that opening now, though, is where the hell did he get the Lament Configuration from? Because it looks like it's supposed to be Southeast Asia or something, but then he's at his house.
It says Morocco.
Oh, does it say? Oh, I missed that.
No, not in the movie. On Wikipedia, It says Morocco, and I think I always kind of just assume Morocco because of the way I look at the Lament Configuration is like a monkey's paw, right? Which is always an African market, but like a Middle Eastern African market, which is like Morocco or Egypt. So
yeah,
I get
it's just a hard cut. It's like a hard cut from him getting it to him being ripped apart and back home in America.
And to be fair, I guess there is the character that goes, "What's your pleasure, sir?" And that character is Asian.
Yeah.
It's an Asian character. So yeah, and I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
So that's confusing. And then, okay, is this supposed to be a street market in America in whatever town they're in? Or, there's just and that's fine too, that kind of melding of time when you're unsure of how quickly things, like we don't get to see him travel back home. Okay, that's fine. Do we need to see that? No. It might kind of clear my head a little bit as to when things are happening, but it's not necessary. And I think that is more Barker's inexperience than, and maybe it was intentional. I don't know, but it's another thing that kind of puts you on your heels. And as far as the logic of how that drop of blood revives him, who cares? It's a horror movie. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, well, and Barker's movies are very Stephen King, or Barker's stories at least are very Stephen King, in that like you as the audience member don't ever need to assume you're going to get explanation. And if you do get explanation, sometimes you probably wish you had. Because in it's like, oh, it's a giant turtle, and then, the turtle vomits out art. Like, nobody cares.
No, that's when things get messy, is when he started to really over-explain the end. I mean, and that, it's a running gag now.
No explanation.
Right. It's just a thing. It just happens. This is just a thing.
If you can deal with this movie taking place in England but supposed to be the United States, you can deal with a little just movie's own internal logic.
Yeah, and this operates on its own logic, I think. And I like movies that are self-contained like that. And that is his reconfiguration is one of the things that really grabbed me when I first saw this. And I love that scene still to this day when he starts popping out of the floorboards and part of an arm comes up and then another arm and then basically the torso. It's pretty amazing practical effects for someone who wasn't very very well versed.
$1 million budget.
Yeah, and that's a surprise too. I remember, or I read that recently, that the budget was pretty low, and I'm like, really? And that he was unhappy with the ending special effects, but I didn't see any issue with any of the effects through the film, knowing that, they're all practical, obviously, and pretty, some of the flesh ripping stuff is obviously latex or whatever, but it's done
shots of the flesh, hooks in the flesh,
but it's so like cringy. I mean, just you can, again, it's one of those things that we've talked about. You can imagine getting your finger hooked by a fish hook. I mean, you can imagine it or remember it. It happens to a lot of people. If you've ever gone fishing, you're going to catch your finger on a fish hook. Just imagine that 1,000-fold and
in your face,
everywhere on your body. And that helps kind of fill in the gaps of the not so stellar latex looking material. But I love the effects in this movie. I love Skinless Frank.
It's me, Uncle Frank.
The murder scenes are rough. I mean, they're, with the hammer to the head and it's
great how shitty, it's great how shitty things can look with practical effects, right? Like, it looks so grimy and, just shit covered. But that's, so beyond intentional. And I love how good that looks. Because, when you think about
the whole house
polished stuff, when you think about how polished things look now, it, detracts from that weird quality that a movie like this has, where this movie just, even in their nice house, it feels covered in grime.
Oh, yeah. And especially the room that he's holed up in, it just stays that way. And it's like, did Dad never go in this room?
Rats in the corner.
It takes him forever to finally get up into that room. And I can't remember the characters' names at all, except for Kirsty, who I always want to call Christy, because Kirsty is so hard to say. But that's the other thing. I don't know. When I watched this last week, it was the first time I kind of thought, it seems like.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
We could have done without the whole Kirsty story.
Yeah. Well, so she had to put upon protagonist, right?
Or at least, like, why does she have to have a boyfriend? Adds nothing to the movie, and it just seems more of a plot convenience or contrivance to me when I watch it now, and I never really thought about that before. But
they didn't think about it in the second movie, because in the second movie they don't bring his ass back. So
yeah,
for good reason. I mean, again, to your point, it's pretty apparent to me, at least, that they didn't put a lot of stock in that character going into that second, because this first movie they do nothing with it, nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just and I don't know if I ever read the novella that this was based on. I'd have to go back and look through my books to see if I even have it. But I want to say I did, but I don't recall exactly. So I can't say whether or not, her character was more fleshed out in that, or if it was even less so, or what. But I mean, I get that she needs to be there because the dad is so oblivious to everything. And I don't know, it just seemed like it wasn't fleshed out enough in the movie. And beside just her non-existent boyfriend, who doesn't matter much at all, it just felt more odd to me this time watching it. Like, what's her, I mean, I know what her purpose is, but it's like, couldn't somebody else have played this role? I don't know. It just threw me off. It just seemed weird. Like she didn't have enough to do, or it was only
the first half. She's not in
right.
The first half. It's like she shows up for the second half of the.
And she's mentioned, and I'm living in an apartment like right next door, or something weird like that, or I don't know. It just struck me as odd this time. Like if to use that term again, it kind of felt like she was shoehorned into the story, and it wasn't. It just didn't seem as believable to me now as it probably, and I probably didn't even ever think about it when I first watched it. Like, oh, what's her ultimate motivation?
If you don't have a third character, you can't get the twist at the end of the movie where the dead guy's skin is on the other.
Yeah, right. I mean, I know that's
the whole thing, right? Like,
I know that she has to be there. It just seemed underwritten.
Yeah, no, it totally is. That's the way I look. Why didn't you include her as a bigger presence throughout the film? Because
right,
I have no kind of attachment to her character by the time you're telling me I should, which is like the last third of last half.
Yeah,
of last
yeah. I think that's probably what stood out to me this time.
She's not a very well-written character, even when she is on screen. That's
right.
The other problem. I mean, to your point, she's not on screen enough, and when she is on screen, because she's not on screen enough, they have to either they could have overdone it or underdone it, and they underdid it. They underwrote her character on top of underutilizing her.
Right.
That is the thing about this movie that is a bummer, is Ashley Lawrence is not a bad actress. She's just literally given nothing to do, other than scream and get to talk to Pinhead. In the one of essentially two Pinhead scenes in this movie. Because that's the other thing, for a character in this movie, he's not in this movie a whole lot. That's why he doesn't even get a name in this movie. That's why he's lead Cenobite. Because for a movie with Pinhead, he sure isn't in this one, at all.
Yeah, and I don't think, that kind of leads you to this wasn't the ultimate goal of these, is to create an iconic horror creature,
No, yeah, no.
So,
I mean, to be fair, I don't think that was Wes Craven's ultimate goal either, given the way he treated that franchise and wanted to just walk away.
Yeah.
Go on to other things, and he didn't. I mean, again, if you watch those Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, Wes Craven talks about how he didn't want a twist ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wanted the movie
right.
exist within the narrowly confined boundaries of the movie, and it ends on the last frame of the movie. It doesn't continue,
Yeah. I love the end of that movie, but I can totally understand.
The end of that movie.
It doesn't make any sense, but
Ronnie Lee Blakely fucking doll gets pulled through.
I love it.
No, is the best part of that entire movie.
I love that.
But this has that same problem. I mean, they take the character that doesn't even have a name in this movie, and he becomes the focal point of the next two.
Because it's what the kids like. Give them what they like.
I mean, hey, I will tell you though, he's the best part of the next two movies. He's not the best part of this movie. The best part of this movie is the actor who plays Frank, because he's menacing and you can see why she was charmed by him in a way. But he's pretty menacing.
Yeah, he's a good villain.
Yeah, and Claire Higgins is good too. She's a great secondary villain.
Oh yeah, she always kind of creeped me out though. The look of her, I don't know, something about her does not appeal to me on a purely physical level.
I mean, I think, in this movie, that's the point. You're supposed you're supposed to be kind of turned off by her as much as you're turned on by her.
Right, which is kind of the thing about the movie. I mean, that's the overall theme of the film. So, I don't. I was just thinking about it.
It's a strange movie. It's stranger than the second movie, and the second movie's pretty strange. But the second movie at least works with the logic of the first movie, so I kind of know what to expect. This first movie is all over the place.
Yeah, and I think that's why I prefer it over the second one, because it just has that weird, we don't really know what we're doing feel to it, but it works enough. And there's the strong stuff is so strong that it works. And then in the second movie, you kind of get a more normal beat by beat story, and there's weirdness still there. They maintain enough of that, but it's more of a kind of typical horror movie, and includes some tropes that were very popular at the time. The mental institution thing, which had been done in Nightmare 3 already, I believe. Yeah, I think that came out before Hellraiser 2. Friday the 13th plays with that. So we get the crazy kid in the asylum who has then got to help or gets helped by the other crazy kid in the asylum. So, I mean, that gets played out a bunch in late 80s, early 90s horror films. A lot.
Yeah, well, no, I forget that the...
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Insane Asylum is even in the first movie, but it's there. I honestly always kind of forget that it plays a part in the first movie, given how big of a part it is in the second. But I always forget that they have that in the first movie. They kind of set the stage for, that's where this could go, is like, she's now crazy because of, she's saying all these crazy things.
Right.
I do like this.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there pretty high. I don't watch it a lot, but every time I do, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this is why I liked this so much when I saw it.
And, as someone who would be okay with this only ever having been the movie we got, I would have been okay with this just being...
Oh, yeah.
But, again, Pinhead's design is just pass up doing something.
Apparently, somebody thought that.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's move on now to Hellbound, Hellraiser II.
Sure.
Not directed by Clive Barker, directed by Tony Randel. Screenplay not by Clive Barker, by Peter Atkins. But it does star a good amount of the first cast. So Claire Higgins comes back as Julia, playing the Frank part of the first movie, the skinless Julia. And then you have Ashley Lawrence back as Kirsty, who is stuck in an insane asylum now, the one from the first movie. And you have a doctor played by Kenneth Cranham, who is he's a real bastard. He's been I guess researching the Lament Configuration this whole time.
Lucky him. I mean, how lucky can you get that this has been your life dream and your most recent patient has dealt with it? I mean, that's just, what are the odds?
And you have Doug Bradley back playing the titled Pinhead character now. And one Elliot Spencer, who is the man that was Pinhead, essentially. And at the beginning of the movie, you see him become Pinhead in a pretty good scene, I would say, to open the film.
I like that. I forgot that they did that as early as they did in the franchise, that they showed the origin of Pinhead. It's kind of a truncated version, I believe, from what I read, but it gives you enough, and it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's well done. Again, the special effects are pretty good in this, that except when you can see kind of the cart being pushed behind that one, I forget what they call it, but I mean, that happened, I mean, come on. These things happen in these old movies.
I should mention Oliver Smith and Sean Chapman do come back as Frank, and Skinless Frank. So there is also that. So he is in this movie in kind of a very... But yeah, this movie takes place at a psychiatric hospital where the doctor who's been investigating and testing and trying to figure out a way to open the Lament Configuration, he gets his wish, and it opens, and he becomes a Cenobite.
Pretty cool Cenobite, too. I actually really like his design.
Yeah, it's pretty different from the ones in the first movie, because the ones in the first movie are pretty understated. And pretty effects heavy. And by pretty, I mean really effects heavy.
Yeah. He's got a whole contraption coming out of the back of his head that carries him along. But I like how that the wire, how they did the stuff around his face, and then it stays, wrapped around his face, and then it stays there as his kind of design, his facial design. And yeah, it's not bad. I enjoy the second one to a pretty large degree.
It is alien to Hellraiser's Alien. Hellraiser. There's a lot of Cenobite shit in this movie. Like, compared to the first movie, like Hellraiser, like Pinhead is there in that first movie just enough to get the plot taken care of. But in this movie, it's like Pinhead is the focus, and in Aliens, like the aliens were the focus.
Right.
Of the movie. Like, this is pretty hard. Like, they are steering into one direction by having Pinhead's origin story open the film. Let's just put it that way.
Well, and that's again, give them what they like, and so you're going to get beat over the head with it in this, and kind of in the third one too.
Well, yeah, for good and for bad, the first movie is about Kirsty. The second and third movies are about Pinhead. So much so that all the other characters are essentially underwritten so that they could focus all their time on Pinhead. And look, I think we could both agree. I don't blame them. Pinhead is the more interesting character, but you have to meter that out and still give while I appreciate writing for Pinhead is probably more fun than writing for Kirsty Cotton, you're a goddamn screenwriter. You have an obligation to the audience to tell a story. If you can't get to every Pinhead beat you want in the movie, tough shit. Pick the ones that you like and move on. Don't try to cram it full of every Pinhead idea you have. Which this movie and the next movie kind of overdo it in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think that's why I lose interest pretty quickly while I'm watching, because you need something else on your plate for a full meal, not just Pinhead, not just Cenobites and interesting Cenobite designs. So, I mean, it's definitely, it leaves my brain a lot quicker after watching it than the first one does. Like, I'll still remember things about the first one for quite a while after I watch it. But this, it's like I'm even struggling right now to remember a lot of what happens.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, what happens in this movie is essentially nothing. You have Kirsty in the hospital the entire movie with this mute girl played by Imogen Boorman. And throughout the movie, they're just trying to figure out a way to escape the Institute, which then has to deal with them escaping the hell world that they're in because the doctor forces them into the hell world for whatever reason. It's never made apparent as to why I guess only because she knows how to open and close the box. That's it.
Right. Yeah, so that's why the girl's there, because she's good at puzzles. So we see that him
plot device is mod.
Cajoling the mom to, have her what's the word? What's the legal term there? Institutionalized, we'll just say. And then I mean it just kind of makes me laugh when you start laying it out like that, because again, he's gotten really lucky that Kirsty is there out of all places she could have ended up. And she has experience. Yeah, she has experience with it too. And then this other girl knows how to open puzzles, or, is really good at puzzles. And that's the kind of stuff that...
is why did he need both? Like, why did she have to be there and there be a character that solves puzzles? Kirsty already knows how to open the box. But it's been
true.
Apparent in the first movie she opened the box.
True.
So the Imogen Boorman character of Tiffany is completely useless, because what's the point? You have two characters who can open the Lament Configuration. Why? One of them is from the last movie. You don't need another. And then it cuts to the core of this movie, having those scenes with Imogen Boorman's mom with these flashbacks that are never really explained. I guess the doctor killed her mom so that she would have to stay there forever.
Right.
Who knows? This movie really is about Pinhead.
So, if you're into Pinhead, this is right up your alley.
Yeah, right. I mean, even the character of Julia is given very little to do. She almost feels unnecessary to this movie entirely.
Right. Well, and I guess it's just all tools to help him achieve his goal of becoming a Cenobite, which I don't know what's so great about that life, but...
Pleasure and pain mixed together, Mark.
I mean, do they seem all that happy though?
Well, that's the question. I mean, ultimately, that is the question that this movie asks, right? Because you have Elliot Spencer, the human Pinhead, becoming Pinhead, and then at the end of the movie, he is defeated because he turns back into a human because being Pinhead isn't. So that's the thing. In the next movie, I understand the Pinhead human Elliot Spencer and Pinhead the being that it becomes Pinhead because of, essentially, let's say his psyche fractures, right? Or Pinhead is his id, I guess, is probably more what Clive Barker was going for. His id separates from his ego, right? And you have the two. In the third movie, it's just Pinhead Unchained. In this movie, I don't understand why anyone, what the motivation of Pinhead and his human side. I don't understand. They never explain why being Pinhead is a bad thing, if that's what he ultimately wanted. That's what they never explain that in any of these movies. Is it just a be careful what you wish for type thing?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
Is it that simple? Because if it's that simple, that's kind of lazy.
I mean, it seems like they enjoy torturing people, but we don't really...
We're told in this movie that it's not Elliot Spencer regrets being Pinhead in some way because he dissociates from the Pinhead part of his psyche at the end of the movie and then dies because...
Yeah, I mean, we don't see them, outside of their work, so we don't know what the home life is like and how this affects their...
They're just sitting around tapping their fucking... twiddling their thumbs.
Oh, great.
Open the goddamn puzzle box.
Somebody open another box. I gotta go rip them apart.
And that's the other question that these movies... Look, I don't care about the other movies if they answer them, but in these first two movies, they don't explain what Pinhead is doing when the box isn't open. So is he like a genie that lives inside of the box? I mean, again, in the later movies, I would assume he doesn't live inside of the box. He lives on a hell plane that he's summoned from. But you could almost make the case in that first movie that Pinhead is inside of the box.
Right.
And she closes the box at the beginning of the movie, throws the box into the trash. Whatever, stop motion nightmare. Takes the vagrant becomes a giant demon and flies away with the box. It's great. But it's never explained. It's never explained.
Right.
Because and I say that only because in this movie they try to explain everything. And they explain essentially nothing in the process. That's the failing of this movie, is by trying to explain everything and failing to explain everything, they explain nothing and leave me with many more questions that I wouldn't have had if not for the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like because I do enjoy the vagueness of the first movie. I don't need to know why that creature comes and takes it. It just sort of explains why that bum is everywhere that she goes.
Why did the Cenobites even have to be?
Right.
That in the first movie, there is no hint that Pinhead was a human being.
Yeah.
All of those characters look fairly alien. Like Pinhead with his pins in his head, Butterball, Chatterer with, his exposed teeth, like stuff like that. You don't necessarily have to say, well, that was a human being at one point.
Right.
And then
I agree.
It's like, no, they were humans. And it's like, but what is that? What does that serve? Like, what plot point does that serve? And that's never answered, especially not in this movie. In the third movie, they kind of get at it in the third movie, but they don't say anything different in the third movie than they do in this one.
Yeah, they don't. In these first three, at least, they don't explain, because you think that would then have happened to Frank as well. So it's like, well, is it because they do this too many times? That was sort of my understanding.
In the third movie, that we have more Cenobites in that movie.
Well, and they're immediate too, though, just like the Doctor is. I mean, he gets changed. It seems to me like this would happen after multiple times of using
like Spiegel, right? Like
right.
Corrupts your being.
Exactly, and you become less human and less human and less human. I want to say that's what I read, that was the intent, and it got truncated for that opening of part 2, and then I think that's just what they went with. And it would make sense to me, yes, over time, you keep using this thing, you're going to end up turning into one of the beings that controls them. There has to be other boxes and other puzzles around the world that causes other Cenobites
tap into this power
to come and get you, just like this one brings these 3 or 4 or whatever the situation is. But it just is like, well, okay, so Frank did it, but didn't become one of you guys. The Doctor does it on purpose, becomes one instantly. Also remembers his human self, though, which goes against the mythos of the story.
At least the mythos established in the same movie that.
Right. I mean, Pinhead isn't supposed to remember his life as
distance from the point of Cenobitism.
True.
Again, that's me and you coming up with that. That's not the movie saying that. And that's a problem. Don't give me the fucking.
No, and if the logic in the movie isn't following its own logic, then that's a mistake. Right. And if Pinhead is established as not remembering Elliot Spencer, then the Doctor shouldn't remember anything about his life the instant he turns into a Cenobite. But he does, obviously.
And they also give us. I mean, the screenwriters, make it a point to talk about the human version of Pinhead because they open the goddamn movie with. So again, it's almost like they're shining a light on this film's improprieties with the story. They're the ones putting a focus on it, not us. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Pinhead doesn't remember himself, but the Doctor does. And the Doctor remembering himself is a huge plot point, because that's why he's doing all the stuff that he does after he becomes a Cenobite. It's because he wants to be the lead Cenobite. Because, oh, by the way, at the end of this movie, Pinhead died, I guess.
Or gets
Cenobited and becomes
trapped.
He becomes a human like the rest of the Cenobites, because Kirsty turns him into humans with the puzzle box.
Yeah.
Apparently that's the power that the puzzle box has, is to turn people out of un-Cenobite them, I guess.
Yes, this is when things start to get convoluted in a not fun way.
Well, again, I don't understand, what does it add to the story of the Cenobites that they were once human, when the only character that we see struggle with it is Pinhead. But again, he's not even struggling with it through the movie. He's shown a picture of himself, and then he's like, oh, I remember, like... I don't know, it's just lazy, because you're trying to humanize Pinhead in the second movie. Why? That was... Make him, like, Make him the monster that he is in the third movie and this movie. Stop trying to find a reason to humanize Pinhead.
Well, and that kind of the whole idea about the picture that the doctor has and that Kirsty uncovers. How would anybody know that he had turned into Pinhead? If you had, I mean,
if he just disappeared one day, yeah, I don't know.
So
it doesn't make, again, it's lazy. It's lazy screenwriting because they just, here's exposition, pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures in his office. Like, his office is essentially a box titled exposition that characters walk into and find things to further the plot. It's very lazy. Look, given how good that first movie is, how well written that first movie is, this movie just, I know you don't, we're going to talk about it here in a minute. I know you clearly aren't a fan of the third one, but I think this movie is worse than the third one. Because at least the third one is fun. It's over the top and stupid. This movie just, it's like the third movie without any of the fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
It has all the things that the third movie ends up having. Tons of Cenobites, some interesting character design. But like in this movie, it's this weird internal struggle of Pinhead with Kirsty's character at the same time, and neither story lands.
Yeah, I think they were writing towards ideas. The idea for this one kind of being we have to show Pinhead's origin and that dichotomy between human and Cenobite. And so that opens up a lot of possible errors. How would anybody know that this guy had been turned into one of these creatures who only a handful of people on the planet have probably ever experienced? How does the doctor know all this?
And it would also seem that most of the people that interact with the Cenobites don't survive it.
You open up this thing that no one could possibly know. So I mean, I guess it's best, again, to not think about it too much. But when they're setting up a logic for the movie and leaving huge chunks of it out, I have an issue with that. I don't mind missteps in logic in a movie where you're just supposed to go along with it. Like the first one is, why does blood revive Frank? I don't know. Fine. It happens. As long as they keep that logic in further iterations, which they do. What they do with the Julia character in this one, basically the same thing happens to her. It's a little bit more confusing, though.
The mattress. It's
right.
A mattress. So it's essentially the same thing. He died on the floor in the last movie. She died on the mattress, or her body was on the mattress.
That whole house burned down. So, and this was at a time, so, this happens in movies, especially way back when people didn't have VHS and you weren't watching movies multiple times a year or whatever. Where you could kind of fudge the opening of a movie. I mean, it's the whole Misery thing, with the serials. He didn't get out of the cockadoodie car. You can do that because no one is going to remember.
I've never
people
seen
that. Okay, well, so people that have watched Misery are going to understand what I'm talking about. That fake out at the end of old serials where a car goes over a cliff and the hero is inside of it, and the next week you come back. The car goes over the cliff, but you have a shot of the hero jumping out of the car before it goes over the cliff. So, and I'm like, I watched these back to back and I was sitting there going, wait a minute, didn't the house burn down in the first one? And I'm like, why are they back getting a mattress out of the house that shouldn't exist anymore? So there's that. And I'm thinking, well, okay, this was heavy VHS time. So you can't do that. You can't change it. He didn't get out of the cockadoodie car. The house burned down. So anyway, and I think, well, maybe I misremembered it, even though I just finished watching it like 10 minutes ago. It is still possible that I misremember the house burning down. I know it was on fire. Maybe it didn't burn all the way down. Doesn't look like it was burned at all, though, in the opening of the second one. Fine, whatever. So why would the mattress be okay, though, still? It would have at least burned. I don't know. So this is when I'm like, okay, they're fucking around with continuity and all that stuff. And
I honestly forgot that William Hope was in this movie. Talk about another waste of time and a connection to Alien.
Who is he in the movie? I'm trying. I know the name.
He's like the nurse at the hospital that gets killed by Julia. Remember? And you think he's going to be like the Christopher Kirsty, and he just died.
Yeah. Well, and I think at the beginning of the film, what is that actor's name? He's a Canadian actor. He's one of the X-Wing fighters in Star Wars, and he's also in Strange Brew. He pops up here and there in different movies. I can never remember his name. But I was like, oh, shit, he's in this. I think in just the first scene of the movie as an orderly or whatever. Anyway.
Oh, Angus.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, going through this rewatch now, I think for me, I like the third movie more than I like this one, because I just feel like this one wants to have its cake and eat it too with the second movie, or with the first movie. It's too closely tied to the first movie to be its own thing. And I mean, you would agree, like, this doesn't even have its own story. You can't watch this movie without the first. You will have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's definitely not my problem with the third one. It's taking its own path and not having Kirsty in there except in some video thing that you can barely make out it's even her.
That was a very 90s way of doing it.
Yeah, so you're right. It's not beholden to adhere to that storyline that we're first given. They're making a break. Probably should have made a stronger break in the second one. And there's just something. Well, we'll get into it. I was enjoying the third one up until a certain point, and then I was like, oh, fuck, I don't even know if I can finish this.
So the third movie, Hellraiser, is directed by Anthony Hickox with a screenplay by Peter Atkins. It stars Terry Farrell.
Back to school.
And Jazdia Dax from Deep Space Nine, if you're a Star
Trek. Oh, yeah.
If you're into Star Trek.
No.
And she plays the lead, a reporter who finds out about a womanizing nightclub owner and kind of gets stuck in his web of weird things. It's a weird movie. So it is weird. He buys the pillar that is now synonymous with Pinhead that has Pinhead's face, and he gets some blood on it like in the first and second movies, and Pinhead wakes up and says, hey, kill for me and I'll make you a god. A god turned into a Cenobite with Pinhead controls. So Pinhead is being a bastard. So at the end of the second movie, Pinhead dies, but not really. His entities are split. The human version of him exists, and the Pinhead version. Spencer's id is Pinhead. So he is trapped somewhere, and Pinhead is in that pillar. And that's the movie.
With the Lament Configuration and I guess other either victims or past Cenobites or whatever are in there.
The pillar is the giant plot device of the movie.
Yeah, I expected to like this one even less than I did for a couple reasons. It's 1992 now, so we're 4 years. The first one was a year after. The second one was a year after the first one. Late 80s, still not my favorite era for horror movies. And the first movie is one that gets a pass. 1992, man, not a good year for horror in general. And for me at the time, I wouldn't even have probably realized that a third one had come out. This was my art movie phase of my life. So I don't think this went to the theater. So I think this might have gone direct to video. I may be wrong about that.
This was a theatrical.
Was it? Okay. I wouldn't have paid any attention to it in 1992. I was too highfalutin for that. And I never rented it as far as I can tell. Like I said at the beginning, I felt like I went 5 or 6 deep into the series after watching that documentary, but I remembered absolutely nothing about this film. And I kind of find that hard to believe if I had watched it before, because that would have been within the last 5 or 6 years at least. And my memory isn't that bad, but nothing rang a bell at all. And I was into it up until the nightclub scene. And then I was like, I'm checking out.
That was the scene where you checked out.
That was when I checked out. The nightclub scene towards the end where Pinhead has...
The nightclub scene.
the in air quotes nightclub scene, because there are a lot of nightclub scenes in the movie.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most famous scene from this movie, right?
If you say so.
I mean, it's unlike something you get to see in a lot of the slasher movies that are Pinhead's compatriots. You know, you have the scene in Nightmare 2 that everybody gets all in a tizzy about, which is, you're all my children now. Like, that's the makes no sense in the entire scope of the series scene. But that's the closest you get to the main character the main villain just going completely ape shit on a room of people. You don't really see that in any of the other big horror franchises. So it's kind of cool to see Pinhead just ripping everybody to shreds. But at the same time, I can see where you're coming from, because it is over the top and just unnecessary almost.
It didn't make any sense to me as far as his character goes. It's usually some creepy pervert sitting in a room alone, rubbing the circles on this puzzle box. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, did I miss something? Why is he doing this? And it gave me that Freddy vibe of like, okay, now he's the star of our vehicle. He's the star of the franchise. We're going to let him go all out. And it didn't ring right to me. And things just kind of went downhill from there. But I was enjoying it up to that part. I was enjoying the dynamic between Terry Farrell and, is it Paula Williams? Paula Marshall, who, by the way, is in Malignant. And it as a early 90s movie, it was sort of working for me. It's like I couldn't really tell it was a 90s movie, which was a point for it. The styles and it, because a lot of that stuff can look really ugly to me when I watch it now, but it didn't have that. It seemed like it was still sort of late 80s ish in spirit. And even the bad guy wasn't, he's a turd, obviously, but he's supposed to be, but it wasn't overdone for me. So I was like, okay, yeah, this one's not that bad. And then the nightclub scene just ruined it. And the Cenobites that they created for this are god awful. I'm sorry.
No, I get but, you have to. You either look. This movie in a lot of ways is like Malignant. Either you're even. I would even go as far as to say the scene in this movie is similar to the scene in that movie, where it's like it's either this is the pivot moment. Either you're with the movie past this scene, or you're not. You weren't in this movie's case. In Malignant, we both were. I know we'll talk about it at some point in the future. Maybe never. Who knows? But. That's a similar movie where there is one scene where if you're not on board with the movie after that scene, forget it. And this movie is the same way. And the impact of that scene is almost 1-to-1 in a lot of, like, what they're asking the audience to buy into is almost a complete 180 from where the movie had been going up until that point.
Yeah, that is exactly what I thought when I was watching this. I'm like, people that kept. And there were people saying early 90s movies in relation to Malignant, but all I was seeing and hearing was Giallo, Giallo, Giallo. When I watched that scene,
that's such a stretch with Malignant. I'm sorry.
When I was watching this, I'm like, no, this is the inspiration for that. This is wacko. This is over the top.
Nuts. This movie's fucking insane in the last third of the movie. It's insane.
We get a Cenobite with a video camera eye. We get a Cenobite shooting out CDs.
You get Cenobites walking in the middle of the street fighting police officers. If I had told you that was going to be the case in the first movie, you would have fucking laughed in my face, given that they don't even leave that room in the first movie. They don't leave a, 20 by 20 room in that entire first movie. And here they are fighting cops in what is meant to be, clearly not, but meant to be downtown New York City.
I think that this and movies of its ilk from the early 90s were a definite inspiration to James Wan, because that plays out not in the streets, but that plays out in the police station in Malignant in much the same way as this does.
If you are not on board with this movie after the club scene, this movie, you're gonna find this movie to just be a complete bore and a fucking nightmare 30, because it's just all over the place. it is simultaneously boring with dream sequences that go nowhere, but are the core of the film's message. And then you have bonkers nutso shit like Pinhead going into a church and killing a priest and giving him an unholy black mass. Like, he pulling body parts off and feeding it to the priest. Like, dear God, you are beyond heavy-handed. But you know what? I personally love it. This is probably my favorite Hellraiser. Having watched it again, like, it's just... I think something like Malignant really makes me appreciate more how crazy movies can get when the filmmaker's vision is just laser focused, but that laser focus is directed in a, off of the beaten path into the woods. It's too on the nose to have Hellraiser giving a priest a black mass, but you know what?
I think if people were digging on Malignant, man, they should definitely check it out. I think they'll see the through line there.
Yeah. And I think, when we talk about, the Cenobites in this movie, right, I realize how your distaste for them is overwhelming because they're pretty wacko designs that go really, they kind of almost joke in the face of the previous designs, right? Like you have a guy with a literal video camera smashed in his head.
They're a little too specific. Well, I guess, because I mean, what's Butterball supposed to be other than just weird looking and chatterer? And does the female Cenobite have a name? Was she ever given a name other than female Cenobite?
I don't.
Because none of those three show up in this one, from what I recall. And I after this, God knows what direction they went in with Cenobites, but that. Once I saw in the nightclub scene, I was kind of still there until the discs started flying out and slicing that guy's face up. It's like, ooh, the hip new thing, CDs are all the rage. So let's get that in here. Even though they had been out for half a dozen years. I don't know. I mean, it's not awful, and I can see the fun in it, but for me, I don't know, for some reason that nightclub scene just did not fit with the previous feelings I got from a Hellraiser film. Where they've gone from there, I can't even imagine, but
I would say the biggest disservice that this movie does is being a Hellraiser. If this movie were a Hellraiser movie, that nightclub scene probably wouldn't have bothered you at all, because what you just said is, I didn't like it because it wasn't in line with the previous two movies, who were so, stylistically defined that this scene in this movie makes no sense. It really doesn't. It is so far afield. But again, I think, the franchise saying that this is a different, a completely different Pinhead than the last two movies is its kind of logic of getting out of that. And I mean, look, Pinhead died at the end of the last movie. This is essentially unchained, Pinhead untethered from the responsibilities of being, I guess, the judge, jury, and executioner of the demon.
Right. And that's fine. That's fine.
But
I'm not beholden to,
I know, but
I don't have that much invested in Hellraiser.
but to your point, it is a little, and by a little, I mean, it's a lot of a change. It's a big change. And it's a change that you're either on board with it or you're not. And it is that drastic of a change that it is pretty easy to be not on board with it. You being someone whose opinion I trust immensely, not being on board with it, one of us was bound to not be on board with it.
Yeah. It does. It's bold and it's kind of fun, and a lot of the
more times you watch it too.
I did enjoy a lot of the effects when they would kind of stop and focus on one real quick. It was nice to see those. Some of the kills were interesting if you're into that sort of thing. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed abrupt and like somebody threw the car in reverse while they were driving down the freeway at 60 miles an hour. And which, isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just didn't really work for me. And I kind of felt that whiplash and thought, oh, Jesus, what's the rest of this movie going to be like? And it ended up kind of copying the end of the second one a little bit on how we take care of all this. So, yeah. But I can't really fault any of these movies all that much because you get the idea of what they're going for. And did they achieve it? Yeah, most likely. I mean, let's make Pinhead the star of these and give him more oomph, I guess, than just kind of being a dour goth dude that comes and pesters you in your bedroom while you're trying to get your freak on. Now he's going to be Freddy-esque. Fine. If that's what you're going for, then knock yourselves out. And again, like I said, I don't know if that continues. I wish I could remember 4 and 5 like I think I should, or feel like I should after thinking that I've watched them. But yeah, I don't know where the franchise goes after all this.
Well, and the other thing, to your point, that I think is very interesting is this movie revisits the end of the second movie so heavily. It's like, hey, if you didn't see the second movie where Pinhead is confronting his humanity, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Because in that movie, it's like, okay, you need to remember your humanity, and then you and your humanity break from one another. In this movie, it's reuniting Pinhead with his humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So you're undoing what the last movie did, because what the last movie did wasn't possible. I guess in universe, Pinhead not having humanity means he is just going to murder everyone. And if he has humanity, I guess he's more even-keeled, I guess. I mean, again,
sure.
I'm just using the logic that the movie is using. That's kind of the... If I'm following the film's logic is Pinhead needs his humanity to be even-keeled and not just go on a rampage and turn innocent people into Cenobites. Because that's the other thing. Like, the Paula Marshall character is an innocent, the reporters, cameraman is an innocent, the barman is an innocent. Like, a lot of the characters almost all the characters in this movie, aside from 1 or 2 of them, and even then, like, I guess the character of J.P. Monroe is a bastard, but he's still not Pinhead. Like, Pinhead murders however many people in that club. So
there were a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's weird because there's this real disconnect in the narrative of these movies of like, I guess humanity's important, but to what end?
I was confused, and maybe you can help me because you tend to clear up these confusions of mine. So this happens in the nightclub. There's a news report about it. And then she goes back to the nightclub, but all the bodies are still on the floor. And they break into the back, her and the...
Pinhead was manipulating the TV.
Oh, okay.
Is what it was, yeah. Pinhead was using his magical powers that he apparently has now to manipulate people into going to the club. To get her there with the box. It's very convoluted.
Okay. Yeah, I totally missed that. Like, wait a minute, weren't they just talking about it on the news? But all the bodies are still in there?
Yeah, but the news was fake. The Pinhead used the news to get her.
Fake news.
Yeah, dude.
Great. The origin of fake news.
Pleasure.
Who would have thought?
Fake CNN. Pinhead News Network. I think...
I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention to what the news report was actually saying.
Well, and again, I think they also show, like, the TV's unplugged.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, the TV's unplugged. So, like,
Right.
Look, yeah. Again, there are 2/3 of a good movie here, and there's 1/3 of a batshit movie here. And it really does take a hard narrative pivot about an hour in where, you have a scene where rules in the universe are ostensibly being broken. But I would contend this movie succeeds more in breaking those rules than Nightmare 2 does, because everybody kind of discounted Nightmare 2 for the longest time because of the "You Are My Children Now" thing, which they don't ever explain. And It doesn't make any sense. Because Freddy, that's the thing about this movie that none of the Nightmare movies ever succeed in. This movie, in my opinion, actually makes a case and makes sense as to how Pinhead is in reality and able to walk the streets, because that makes sense in the scope of his character. He was around when the box was being opened. So, him killing all those people in the club, again, I understand why it's a stretch, but I still think it is a stretch, but it is still a grounded in the universe they've established stretch. It's just maybe some of the kind of the limiters have been taken off. And that's the way I look at this movie. It's Hellraiser without the limiters of a small scope story or trying to confront the humanity. Yeah, they confront it a little bit, but this movie really is just about seeing cool-ass Cenobites doing kills, throwing CDs, doing a black mass in a church and melting a cross. I mean, it's like just there's hammer horror here, there's body horror here. The piston head thing is very Tetsuo the Iron Man. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff in this movie. It really has. Yeah, watching something like Malignant made me realize how much Malignant is inspired by stuff like this. Because it's inspired by stuff. I don't care what James Wan says. There's no way he couldn't have been inspired by it.
Oh, I think that he'd own up to that because it's pretty obvious. And I think it's kind of fortuitous that this was something that we decided to watch in place of another film, because I wouldn't have made that connection. I would have made that connection to some of the crazier late 80s, early 90s Italian horror films that did this kind of wacko stuff. That's what I was thinking of when I watched Malignant. It wasn't so much American horror, but this is, I mean, you put together that police station scene in Malignant and the club scene in this, and you've got two very similar things going on.
And the movies are drastically different after point.
Right, exactly. So I don't think he could hide from that influence or dismiss it.
This movie has a song done by
Yeah, it's pretty good too.
It is a good, yeah. It's as much of not a fan of Motorhead as I admittedly am, it's a pretty fun song, and it's, the music video is pretty funny with Lemmy performing for Pinhead and all of his pals. So.
Oh, I didn't watch the video. I just remember thinking, oh, here comes the song Chris was talking about, and then I thought, as far as songs from hard rock artists for horror movies, this has got to be one of the better ones.
Is it better than Dokken?
What did Dokken do?
We're the dream warriors.
Yes, it's better than that.
Oh, I don't know. I like that. That's a good song. It's good for what it is.
It's better than the Alice Cooper one. It's better than that one you just
belted out,
murdered my ears with. It's better
Don't
than.
Listen to the actual version. He's even higher pitched than that.
I know.
God. What's the other one? There's a Will Smith, Freddy Krueger song in there. CJD. It's him and somebody else. And then there's like the Fat Boys,
God.
Nightmare on My Street.
Oh God. I'm trying to think of what the other heavy metal ones are though. Besides the Alice Cooper one. There's more. I know there are, but this is actually a pretty decent song.
Yeah. Well, and look, it also helps that the pedigree behind the band.
Yeah.
Now this is a very heavy metal horror movie. It shows its influences.
Yeah, but they don't go too. That's one other thing that I was waiting for. I mean, there is some hair metal going on in this, but it wasn't like, that's not the focus, and that's not what the two female leads reminded me of, and even the dipshit antagonist of the film, like they weren't all hair metaled out, and I was grateful for that, because that's what would have really pushed this down to like, I can barely watch this. So that was missing. I was happy. But yeah, I mean, as far as the look of the film and the production design and all that, I was on board. I was like, okay, I'm kind of surprised that this early 90s horror flick isn't turning my stomach on a aesthetic level. And so that kept me on board. And other than the news reporter having a ridiculously huge apartment on the 5th floor of some apartment building,
ceiling windows too,
on her shitty salary that can't be more than $30,000 a year at the time. Other than that, it was fairly grounded.
Didn't you see April O'Neil? She had a giant apartment too in those Turtle movies. Yeah. She had rooftop access, singular rooftop access. Come on now.
But that's another thing that struck me as malignanty, is that huge apartment and that huge house that the gal lives in Malignant, on her, whatever. It's just like movie logic. Go with it, or, be a grumpy old man and be nitpicky about things. like I apparently was when I watched it yesterday.
If the movie gives you enough things to be entertained by, you won't question them. But that's the problem.
Right.
If you're not on the page or on board or however you want to look at it, then it's like, well, that and that and that and that. And it's like, yeah.
Which is what created the whole cinema sins phenomenon in the first place.
Bored cinema watchers.
Yeah.
Being like, but what about that? But what about that? Like, ugh.
Nobody at that low tier reporter level would be able to afford an apartment like that.
That's just fact.
But I don't know what her background is. She probably has a real wealthy family, blah, blah. Again, it doesn't really matter what the size of her apartment is. It just kind of made me laugh that it was so huge and nicely appointed. But I didn't start out hating it. I didn't really end up hating it after the nightclub scene, but I kind of tuned out at that point.
It becomes a very loud movie, very different movie after that scene. It's a pretty quiet movie. You have some kills, some gore, but that scene ratchets it up. I mean, again, Cenobites walking the streets, blowing stuff up, getting into fights with cops. And then you have this kind of like dream world where she turns the Lament Configuration into a dagger and stabs Pinhead with it, re-infusing him with humanity, sending him back to hell, along with him and the rest of his miscreant pals. And then she buries the Lament Configuration.
In concrete.
In concrete on the construction site of a building that, at the end of the film, turns into it's just one giant Lament Configuration.
I liked that. I appreciated that at the end. I'm like, oh, are they going to show? I didn't even expect them to show like the building or whatever. I thought it was going to be, some apartment complex or something. That might be what it was, but then they pull back and it's like, oh, that's an interesting design on that statue. And then we go inside. Oh, that's an interesting design all over the walls. I like that. I did like that touch.
And I wish that they had gone with that. And because that is how you get Hell on Earth, is you have a giant Lament Configuration that unlocks Hell on Earth, makes a portal and all of a sudden. I mean, that would be cool, right? I mean, people.
Is that where they go in the fourth movie?
No.
Okay.
Where they go in the fourth movie? They go to the last frontier of a dying franchise, to space.
Oh.
Space and future, I think. It's like Hellraiser on a space station in the future or something.
Well, they missed a golden opportunity because they could have had a Poltergeist 3 type scenario in a fucking apartment complex where everybody's opening up Lament Configurations in their units by doing something, messing with the microwave or flicking around the TV channels and accidentally opening these portals and having weird mirror images. And
Hellraiser 4 is directed by Kevin Yeager, but it's credited as Alan Smith. To give you an idea of the quality of the fourth movie, just based on information that can be discerned off of the internet.
Just think. Also, they missed out on having Ashley Lawrence return Tangina-esque and turning into a maquette that falls on the ground and explodes.
Well,
taking it back to Poltergeist.
Yeah, all the way back. I think for a third entry into this series, though, it's pretty strong, given how third entries into series like these tend to go.
Yeah, it's not a deep dive. It's not like just crash and burn.
They didn't go off the edge of the cliff that quickly. I think from everything that I can tell, this is as high as it will ever get ever again. So
I can only imagine.
It would seem that it is all downhill. This is the last movie that's released theatrically.
Yeah, and then they start doing the grab scripts out of piles and
I think
shoehorn. It's never a good sign. Never a good. Does that ever work? Does that ever really work?
Final Destination, but that worked in Spider.
Well, yeah, and some of the Saw movies too, because it's such a basic template that you can just turn any movie that has traps or whatever.
I like them.
I've watched, I think, every Saw movie, so I keep going back.
I haven't seen the new. I haven't seen Spiral.
Did not like. That
does not get the wake up heavy seal of approval.
Oh, You know what, though? I'll watch the next one if they make another one. I don't know. Again, it's not a franchise I'm beholden to, but I get curious about. They haven't offended me in any way. If they haven't offended me, I'll usually kind of keep going. I don't think not that Hellraiser has offended me, but I don't know if I'm going to dip my toe any further into this pool.
So on the topic of Hellraiser 1, 2, and 3, skip it or watch it for you.
Oh, definitely watch the first one. I think it's a classic. Despite or because of its flaws, it's charming in that weird off-kilter way that I really enjoy.
In the way something only like that can be.
Right. It works despite or because of the flaws of Clive Barker and the story and everything else. I mean, if you watch the first one, you might as well watch the second one. And if you watch the second one, you might as well watch the third one. But I think nowadays, Malignant is a good key to have to kind of unlock what happens in part 3. And I'm glad I had already seen Malignant because it immediately popped into my head when I was watching it. So I'm glad you brought it up.
This is a happy coincidence that these movies are so similar because we could have talked about literally anything else and probably not.
Yeah,
this movie is uniquely suited in that way.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, oh shit! Well, there you go. There's one inspiration at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna say for me, it's gonna be a watch on all 3, but the weakest watch is the second one because I think the second one there are parts of that movie that are just nonsensical, just weird things happening.
It drags a lot more than the other two, for sure.
There's characters introduced that go nowhere, characters that are completely unnecessary on top of everything else. So.
Yeah, fodder, cannon fodder, Pinhead fodder.
At least in the third movie, it's just like it's pretty obvious what they are. They're cannon fodder. Don't give me anything about them. Just kill them.
And that's fine. That's fine.
So, Mark, since it is the Halloween season, the spooky season, what is a horror movie that always makes it into your rotation?
I generally give the original Halloween a spin, which I've already done. Showed it to my daughter for the first time. I believe she enjoyed it. I think since it is kind of tame, it probably didn't give her the whammy like it did for me at that age. But she enjoyed it, said it was creepy. Yeah, I mean, to some of the things that I've already shown her and just stuff that's out these days, like Fear Street. I mean, it's tame as far as gore and...
It's more tame than that first scene in Fear Street is, Mike.
We watched it during the day, though. I think it would have played much better in the darkness of night because it is creepy as all get out. I've been spooked.
It's kind of a detail, right?
I've been spooked by it a couple of times as an adult watching it late at night, mainly because of the music. Halloween is always on my rotation. She and I watch Trick or Treat, which is a new one that's usually in my rotation if I have access to it, and it's on HBO Max right now, so that's nice. What else? What else do I always watch? Try to get in some Stephen King adaptations generally. Movies. Usually I watch The Shining or The Dead Zone during October. Kind of like it to be foggy, though, when I watch those, and it hasn't been foggy here yet. It was windy as all fuck yesterday.
I think we're like maybe like 4 or 5 days removed from the kind of we're talking. I feel.
It's gotten nice and cool here, which I love, but no fog. I think we got to wait a little while for fog. I'm trying to think of something that I absolutely have to watch, and I can't. That
fucking movie. Ugh.
I need to watch that one again. Actually, I own the first one.
Hey, you know what we should do?
Oh no! Talk about all the its.
I mean, at some point, I haven't rewatched those movies.
I haven't either. I'm kind of. I love that.
I refuse to talk about this film. Okay, well, that's your choice.
I've used that clip before.
Why is it so mean?
It's so best. The worst line reading in all of horror movie history.
God damn it! Why did you say that, Barbara? That John Ritter line is pretty close.
Yeah, there was a lot of close ones in that. Yeah. I can't think of really anything that's a must see, I tend to hit some of my all-time favorites. I'm a Rosemary's Baby could be watched. The Thing, although I've watched that pretty recently, but who knows? I'm kind of hoping for something new to pop. Oh, I'm going to watch Halloween Kills this Friday because it's going to be on one of the services that I have.
Is it?
Yeah, it's premiering on in theater and on, is it Paramount Plus?
So what time next week do you want to talk about it?
Well,
nobody else is. I don't think anybody I know has any interest in seeing.
Oh, really? I'll watch.
I frankly don't have any interest. I will not. Look, while I appreciate what that last Halloween movie was, it was just Halloween.
Yeah, I didn't care much for it. It was not
pretty much what I was expecting, which was not much.
It wasn't scary to me. It lacked scares, and well, we can talk about all that if you do want to talk about the new one.
I already saw The Force Awakens. That would be my response to it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more excited for the newest movie because my hope is it's not just Halloween. Just like Jurassic World was Jurassic Park again. Like, I appreciate what you had to do to get us here, but don't try to get me saying like that movie was amazing because like the movie that it was inspired by was really good. All you had to do was just copy those beats. That's all you asked to do.
Yeah. No, I have my issues with that one. I don't hate it or anything, but I mean, well, I won't get too much into it.
Competently made. That's all you can say, really.
Yeah, but the first 3 Halloween films are all-time favorites of mine, and I like Halloween too. I don't care what anybody says because I watched a bunch when I was a kid, and nothing about it bothered me. I get it. I get the criticisms of it, but anyway, and I love Halloween 3. Just, anybody who knows me or listens to my show knows that. So it's the same kind of thing like with Saw, but even more so since this dates further back for me. I'll pretty much watch whatever they throw at me. And since it's on a streaming service that I happen to subscribe to, like, why the fuck wouldn't I watch it on Friday?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Yeah, the spooky season is a fun time to rewatch a lot of stuff that I like in the horror genre. But like, to be fair, I like the horror genre anyways. So I'm like watching those movies throughout the year, as I know you are.
Right.
That's, that is the thing about someone like myself or like yourself who are fans of the genre. Like, I don't hold myself to October necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that listens to my show knows that, but there are things that
Conjuring in July.
But there are things that you feel go with this time of year more so than others. And I mean, for a long time, I've had Halloween on some format or another, and I would generally watch it right around Halloween,
I like Halloween horror movies. Like people in October watch horror movies. I feel like a lot of people watch horror movies that aren't into horror movies anytime other part of the year other than October. For me, as someone who likes horror movies all the time, like yourself, like Jess, like so many of them, I like watching in October Halloween movies and Halloween horror movies. So, like you said, like Halloween, like Trick or Treat, like Hocus Pocus, like Halloween Town. Those are Halloween movies. Like, again, maybe not horror movies, but they are movies that take place at Halloween. That's what I'm watching in the meantime.
Right. I agree.
Right? Like, I don't need to watch Hellraiser 3 in October. I could watch that shit.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've watched Hellraiser 3 in October. I normally will just watch it whenever. Like, Hellraiser's just a great series in rotation, at least the first 3.
Yeah. It's not seasonal specific.
So, I'm trying to think if there's anything. So I'm going to ask you another question I've asked everybody else this month. If you had a choice, what are like your top 3 Halloween candies?
Oh,
talk about non-movie stuff. At least not prompted. It's normally a tangent.
Well, I like, as far as candy bars go, I like me a Twix bar. I like Kit Kats. And quite possibly my favorite candy bar in the world is 100 grand bar. So if I got those at every house, I'd be happy.
What's in 100 grand bar?
It's caramel it's basically like a crunch bar with a caramel center. So it's chocolate and Rice Krispies around a caramel center. I like most candy bars, most chocolate based candy bars.
I think everybody's realized every time I ask someone that question this month, they that's normally their answer is like 3 candy bars, and then they just go, but I just kind of like candy bars. Like
I do. I like Reese's Pieces. I like Mounds. I like.
What about Chunky? Ever had a Chunky bar?
Yeah.
Chunky bars are pretty good.
Chunky and what's the other? There's 3 of those taffy like.
Chunky doesn't have taffy.
What's Chunky? What am I thinking of?
Chunky is like this big, and it's pretty tall, and it has raisins and peanuts.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
I know what.
I'm thinking of Big Chunk.
You're thinking of Big Chunk.
Is that what it's called? That does not sound right for a candy bar. Would you like a big chunk, son? Sure.
Big chunk. I am a huge fan. This is something we haven't talked about. I am a huge fan of like candy bars that are not the mainstream.
Oh yeah, I like
I'm a Twin Bing. Have you ever had that?
No, but I have. We had a store here for a while that had some of those local things that haven't been snatched up by Nestle or Mars or whatever. So there are Mallow cups.
Those are good. My God. Whew.
What's the other one that's similar to that? There was another cup one. It's like a bigger thing though. I can't remember what it's called.
I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the one that's like a cup that is like Rocky Road in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that's called, but I know what you're talking about.
And then there's damn it.
You ever had a nut roll?
Yeah. There's all the ones that are kind of like Butterfingers, like it's the chocolate, like Fifth Avenue, but that's still kind of relatively more well known. But there's what the hell are the names of them? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I love all those. When you go to what are those stores called that sell? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You go to those places and they sell them for astronomical prices.
Right, the things that were 5 cents at one point.
They're $3 a bar now. Like what the fuck?
My favorite candy that like I don't understand the purpose of it are those Nick L Nips. You know what I'm talking about? The fucking wax bottle with the goop or like the sugary water in it. It's like who the fuck thought this was like who the fuck thought this was a thing they could market and who is still buying?
It's somebody. Yeah, throw them in your mouth and then chew on the wax and get does not appeal to me.
What's the other one? The even more disgusting one is the paper with the sugar dots on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my fucking God.
Oh, Zagnuts. That's
all I can think of. Zagnut is Beetlejuice.
Zagnuts, like Chico Stick, all those ones that have that peanut butter coconut thing going on. I love all that stuff. I don't like fruit-based candies, although I am a sucker for Swedish Fish.
Whoa.
Probably my favorite confection in the world, though, is butter toffee peanuts. Not beer nuts, the ones with the like
you're talking like
candy shell.
Yeah.
I love those. We have a local place here, Sierra Nut House, that does just shitloads of nuts and dried fruits and
Californians with nut house restaurants.
I mean, we had almonds just all over the place here. So they sell bags of butter toffee nuts or toffee whatever they're called. I love them to death.
I am a huge fan of confections with nuts in them.
Yeah, like I like Baby Ruth and Payday, Snickers.
I'm a huge fan of a nut roll like that. I think it's just called nut roll. the nougat with the nuts on the outside, like that's that's like inject the peanuts into my veins.
Yeah, no, I dig peanut and chocolate. I mean, I just buy the Target brand.
Mr. Goodbar, man, like that.
Oh yeah,
like just Mr. Goodbar is like such a good candy bar for what it is. It's so understated. Just chocolate and peanuts, great.
Yeah, and it's perfect. And those little bags of all that mix of those Hershey's, 3 or 4 Hershey's
Christmas mix or whatever it is.
The crisp, the knockoff Crunch Bar. I don't know which one came first, but that and Mr. Goodbar, and then the regular guy and the special dark. Give me that mix, man. I'll eat all that shit.
No, I like that bag. I remember having that around at like Christmas time as like a kid, and like like a little bowl on a table.
Yes,
everybody in the family got the thing that they wanted, and nobody ever complained because because everybody only wanted certain things. So
at my parents' assisted living place, when you leave the dining room area, there's a bowl, and they usually have that assortment in there, plus all the other little. So grab that. Thank you very much.
I am a sucker. Speaking of like grandma candy, I am a sucker for those little strawberries.
Oh yeah.
And Werther's. Like, you know what? Make fun of Werther's, motherfuckers, but those things are good. And if you're making fun of it, it's because you can't accept the fact that they're delicious.
And like most things in life, I have exceptions to my own rules because I do like those. And I also like the jelly chews, like, who made those? Like, I think Sunkissed, like fruit chews.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like, the flavor of a Lifesaver, but in jelly type form. And I like Lifesavers too.
Really?
Yeah. Can't find them. You can't find them.
Well, you can't find them. You can't find them in the rolls anymore. Now it's like those individually.
Yeah.
Those bags.
You have to go to the
bag nightmares.
I can't remember where I was finding them in rolls though. We found them like packages of rolls, and we're buying
some Necco wafers. You remember that?
See, that stuff I don't like. Like the crunchy stuff, like the hearts, that you do at Valentine's, and sweet tarts. That shit I don't like. That just reminds me of the vitamins I took when I was a kid.
Well, they have the same texture as vitamins.
Yeah, and the same flavor.
Yeah, no. Oh my god, like hearts and stuff. Who the fuck buys that shit? It's like candy corn. It's literally food that's made as a decoration without purposeful reason to be eaten. Nobody in their right mind eats candy corn, but it looks nice on a bowl on a table with the rest of your holiday stuff.
My wife and daughter like candy corn. I'll eat it. I'll eat it if I need a sugar fix.
How do you feel about those pumpkins?
Oh no, I don't do the pumpkins.
That's like the next level. That's like candy corn elitism. Like I like the 3X version of candy corn.
Yeah, it is. It's extreme. That's extreme candy corn.
That's hardcore. Yeah, those little pumpkins. I guess what are those, like mallow pumpkins? I guess is what they're called. Those are Jesus Christ.
I mean, I like C's. Give me a box of C's candy. I'm happy.
Mr. Spoiled Man on the West Coast with his C's candy.
Oh, do you guys not get that?
Well, they have them.
They're so good.
They have them in Texas, but they don't have them here. I mean, those C's lollipops are pretty good, man.
Yeah, I think I've got one over on my desk waiting for me.
Those things are great. C's, if you've never had C's candy, that's like those candies that you can buy at the store dialed up to 11. Like, that's what C's candy is. It's like not shitty Whitman's candy.
The Bordeaux might be the most perfect piece of candy ever created by man.
I think a friend of my mom's, like whenever my mom buys her something as like a gift, she always buys her a box of those. Those are the...
It's like a creamy center. It has all the sprinkles on the outside. Well, they have a couple of candies that have sprinkles on the outside, but it's got sprinkles, and I'm not sure exactly what the flavor is supposed to be, but it's kind of chocolatey, kind of caramely, almost coffee-like confection. But I like most of their... I don't like the ones that throw in like chopped fruit and shit like that.
Sure.
But
have you ever had around St. Patrick's Day? Have you ever had their potato?
I think so.
Do you know what I'm talking? It's like it's like
it's a weird
nougat coated in chocolate powder.
It just looks like a little lump.
Yeah, it has like peanuts and stuff in it, man.
Yeah.
If you haven't had one of those recently, check those out. Those are some seasonal weird products because man, they come in like a box. In the box, like if you hold the box, you get chocolate powder all over yourself because chocolate powder is like the worst thing to work with in the world. I found that out over the weekend making hot fudge from scratch, and I was whisking it in the saucepan, and it just fucking everywhere. I was sitting there like, okay, well at least there's enough in there to make the fudge, but candy in October is like horror movies in October for me. Like I kind of eat candy sparingly throughout the year. I try not to restrict it to October because then I would go insane.
Yeah.
I do have a sweet tooth.
Oh yeah, I do too. Seriously. Like I'm happy with a bag of chocolate covered peanuts from Target.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like stuff like that. Like just those are just like really easy.
Oh yeah.
Easy snack, man.
You find yourself going back to the cupboard again and again.
So all all the candy talk aside, Mr. Begley, God knows what the next thing we're going to talk about is. We've laid the seeds for any number of things at this point. Where can people find the Wake Up Heavy podcast?
You can find it at wakeupheavy.com, which will give you links to most other places. My host is SoundCloud, so if you're on SoundCloud, it's easy to find. Everything is at Wake Up Heavy, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I just released today the first episode of the 3-episode series on the early films of Alan Ormsby and Bob Clark. This one is on Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, with Mike White and Heather Drain as guest hosts. And Mike and Chris will be joining me next month for Deranged Confessions of a Necrophile, if I can get that whole title out. That should be a lot of fun. Robert's Blossom Man in his one lead role.
Well, other than the lead role that he had on the Twilight Zone 85 episode.
Well.
But that's it. Like, that's where I've seen him before, so that's why I was excited. We're like, it's the one movie that he gets to be the lead. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing. But and then we'll wrap it all up in December with Death Dream. And so that'll be going on for the next couple of months. Plus whatever we churn out and whatever I feel like throwing out there in the meantime. But that's sort of the big 3 that I'm ending the year on.
And as for me, Stachiw.com, where my stuff, like Mark said, what is this, the second time we've talked? Oh,
yes.
No, this is the first time. No.
Yeah, it might have still been September then. Things have gotten kind of crazy since then.
Right, yeah. So Mark, you and I are I think we have at least a couple ideas. So who knows? There may be a bonus episode, 2 or 3 more, or 1 at least, probably, for this month between Mark and I. So keep your eyes open for that. Kulturecast.com, patreon.com/Kulturecast, all the places you can go to find this episode and more episodes of stuff that I work on and other things. Mark, as always, this has been a blast talking about 3 movies. Somehow, it just happens that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to stop doing that.
I mean, look, if we talk about the new Halloween movie, we're effectively going to have to talk about 1 movie or 2 movies or 3 movies. End up talking about 3 movies either way because there's 2 more Halloween movies.
We'll narrow it down somehow. I ain't going through the whole series, so I'll tell you that.
No, it's technically at this point it's Halloween Kills.
Right.
And then whatever the next thing past Halloween Kills is.
Right. Halloween Ends, I think, is what it's supposed to be called.
Well, yeah, so that's where you can find those episodes, and we'll catch you on the next one.